Jill, now.
Oh, I like it. That's perfect. Are we on? Yeah. Good Yontif. Happy Hanukkah to you all. For those who don't know me, I'm Reverend Jill, one of the staff minister, one of the staff minister here at Light on the Mountains. A joy it's been for many years. I'm glad I don't have to commute from Boise anymore, which was really, actually it was a labor of love. I would be driving up early in the morning, got a couple speeding tickets, and driving home, it was always rapture. It was really beautiful. I'd stay for a hike and lunch and then drive home. And so yeah, we're home. Thank you for that beautiful description. So today is the 7th day of Hanukkah. Tomorrow at sunset is the 8th, or the final of 8 days. And we had scheduled a guest, Rabbi Sherwin, but she's unable to come next week. But I felt like it was important to acknowledge Hanukkah. And I was raised in a Jewish household, and while it didn't stick permanently, the actual religion or tradition, many of the traditions and beliefs have stuck with me, particularly the celebration of light, which is Hanukkah, and of miracles, and also what I'm going to talk a little bit about is Tikkun olam, the repair of the world. So Hanukkah is, the calendar, let me start there. The Hebrew calendar is not in sync with our secular calendar. And it is, while our calendar is based on the sun, the cycles of the sun, and I'm not going to go into a big science lesson, but the Hebrew calendar is based on the sun and the moon. And so Hanukkah falls when the sun is the shortest days, but also then when the moon is dark. And that's when it begins, so those 8 days. And I didn't know that. I just found that out, and I thought that was fascinating. So therefore, that's why Hanukkah doesn't coincide as closely as it often does with Christmas and Christmas Eve. And usually on Christmas Eve, I'm able to do a Hanukkah celebration. We light the menorah, and it's quite beautiful. And I was going to bring it in today, but then I realized you can't do that during the day. It must be done at sunset. So I'm not lighting the candles, just in mind. So I just wanted to let you know that. So the story of Hanukkah, brief, kind of a cliff notes, is that the 8 days is celebrated because the Jews were being persecuted, and the temples were being trashed, and they had in their one temple enough lamp oil for one day. And yet it lasted 8 days. And again, I'm briefing, it's quite a brief version of that. And that was the miracle. And that is what we then celebrate by lighting one more candle every day for 8 days. And every day the light gets brighter. And so it's done, of course, at the darkest time of the year. And then we're adding light every day, a little bit of light, a little bit more light. And I just think that symbology is beautiful because it also reminds us, and again, I was raised in a Jewish household, and we would talk about this, it reminds us of the power of miracles and the prevalence of miracles, how all the miracles that took place in our ancestors' days, but then bringing that forward to realizing we've sometimes lost the belief in miracles. We've lost that sense of wonder and that sense of awe and that sense of possibility. Not all of us, not all the time, but as a society, I would say, in general. I always swear I'm going to get more sleep, and it doesn't happen. So I get a little scratchy. So Historically, the Jews have kindled light in order to, it was originally in response to the persecution, but they continue to do so to remind themselves, A, of the possibility of miracles, and also of the importance of that divine light, of that sacred light, and the light that lives within us, and the light that is also available to all of us. And they want to bring light to their community. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the lore that surrounds this holiday. And it was started, the book of Zohar, if you ever heard, is the mystical Judaism. And from that was birthed Kabbalah, or the Kabbalistic mystic version of Judaism, or the deeper, almost esoteric version of Judaism. And what the story goes is that God created Adam, and then Adam fell through and shattered. Again, my version. And he shattered into all these pieces like a clay pot. And not only did the light shatter, or the divine sparks shatter and scatter, also pieces of the soul shattered and scattered. And so the Jews, it is believed, and I think it's, what is his name? Luria, a Jewish mystic, said that it's the Jews' responsibility to come to earth and be born and repair, gather the light, repair the world. Does that make sense? I mean, that's why they feel as if, or why they're taught, and they are the chosen people to come and repair the world. And that's called the Tikkun olam, repair of the world. And it's an amazing concept to think about gathering the shards of light. And I remember talking about this a couple of years ago, and I think R.L. did a little song about gathering all the little sparks of light, and it was just absolutely lovely. I'm sure you don't remember, but yeah, it was just lovely. So so it's our sacred duty, and because I was raised in a Jewish household, maybe that's where I've absorbed this idea of even being a minister, of repairing, healing, comforting, bringing awareness that miracles are possible. And to us, in our faith tradition here, we define a miracle as simply a spiritual principle at work. And quite often it appears like a miracle, an answer to a prayer or an affirmation, and it appears rather miraculous, something I've always wanted, and suddenly I've got it, and I didn't really feel like I had to do anything to get it. Okay, you with me? Just nod, that's really good. So I believe, well, two things. I believe that currently Jewish and non-Jewish communities and communities within communities are not really living in harmony, and various places and various degrees and all kinds of things. But I don't see as much harmony, perhaps, as I used to. And I think they're pitted against each other because of some fear and intolerance. Again, just my perception and my observation. So I believe it's all of our duty, all of our sacred responsibility to bring light, to repair, to take part in this Tikkun olam, at repair of the world, in whatever way we can, in our immediate environment. And I think that's what this holiday really brings up for me, is our ability to do that, the fact that the light empowers us, that we can do it, and that we're called to do it. So there's a variation, too, that again I discovered for the first time in doing some deeper research, a deeper dive, and it's called Tikkun Halev, which is repair of the heart. And of course I talk a lot about heart and heart math and heart breathing and the power of the heart and coming down into the heart, the single eye of the heart and not the bifurcated mind, or the duality that often we experience in our mind, but that the heart sees things as one, as oneness, as unity. And so when I saw this, I was like, ooh, that's going to add something fun. And it's the Tikkun Olam, and the initial one, is actually been appropriated by many as the repair of the world. And in fact, even Clinton used it in his social agenda, using it in how we're going to fix the world. And he used and referred to that concept. But if you go deeper into this idea of the repair of the heart, and I want to think about that for a minute. What the scripture says is that the motivation of the heart can be fraught with problems. And in fact, I'm not even reading the actual scriptural passage that said the evil inclinations of the human heart, because that was disturbing to me, because I don't believe our heart, our true heart, has evil inclinations. What I believe is that our superficial heart, even our hallmark heart, the emotional heart, and what we think is the heart, might have less than ideal inclinations, right? We have agendas, we have emotional things, we have unforgiveness, and we have these things like that. But I believe that the true heart is not evil. I think the true heart is actually that place where we most are connected with and one with God, and that's the divine heart. But they believe and teach that the world to be repaired, first we have to take care of ourselves. Well, that makes sense, right? Heal yourself, heal the world, be the change, all those different teachers in different ways, and that we're flawed, that we're inherently flawed. Again, really hard to harmonize with that, but that is the belief. So, biblically, that's called the carnal heart, right? You've heard some of that. That's the heart of the flesh, where you're tempted to do things, and it isn't just sensual in nature. It's greed and different things like that. So it's that carnal heart, and we want to transcend that, and we want to move into that higher heart that lives within us, the light within us, God's heart, the divine heart. In Christianity, it's called the sacred heart. That's who we are, truly, when we peel away the layers. And so not until our hearts are repaired can we repair the world, right? Again, take care of your own self first. And so I was thinking about individually and collectively, where is it that we might hold a grudge? That's not clean heart, is it? I mean, we do. Where is it we have unforgiveness and resentment? I mean, just think about it, because this is the time we can purge this. We have all of this light. In spite of the darker days, we have all of this light that we're focusing on during these holidays, this opportunity to be reborn, if you will, into that Christ consciousness, the rebirth of the light. And so setting the intentions and clearing it out, this is an opportune time for that. It's a very powerful time right now, especially because everybody pretty much worldwide is focusing on this time of light. When have you gossiped? Not that we ever would, but when have you complained about someone and not gone to them but talked behind their back? When have you done that? I'm sure none of us are guilty of that, but think about these things. We used to say, my minister in Boise and colleague, Reverend George Dashiell, Father George, I used to call him, and he had a southern accent, and he used to say things like, "I've south in my mouth." And then he would say, is he or she safe in your mind? Is he or she safe in your heart? Bring them into your heart and have them be safe, meaning you're not critical of that person, you're not intolerant, you're not judging, even if they bring up something that you don't agree with, right? It's a beautiful concept, and it's simple, hugely simple, just do it, but is it easy? Not always. Not always. So, the challenge, as I see it, is, let's see how to say this. We want to piece these shards of light. Imagine again that the angel fell and shattered into all these pieces of light, and we're called to bring that together. So we look for light. Where do we look for it? We look for it in beauty. We look for it in the lights, as you mentioned, which is so exquisite. Sometimes it's breathtaking. When I drive down to downtown Haley, just downtown Haley, I'm like, it's just breathe that in. That's very healing. Look for the light in each other. Look for the light in nature. Look for the light in your dog or cat's eyes, unless they're annoying you. But the light is all around us, and this is the season of light, right? It's the Diwali, the season of light, the Chinese New Year, and what's the other one, Kwanzaa? It's all of these times of celebrating light. There's a meaning. Why is that? Have you ever really thought about it? Of course, it's to bring light into the darkest days, but these are celebrated even when we're not a different hemisphere, right? Where it isn't the same sun cycle. Food for thought. There's something about celebrating this life, this light. Oh, I said life is light. Light is life. So one of the challenges, I think, is to clear out the debris in our hearts. And there's a call in many of the spiritual teachers right now that at least I follow to do your deep trauma work, to release old traumas, release old grief, release old resentments. And that's not easy, because in order to heal it, you have to feel it. And in order to heal it, it has to pass through you. You can't just say, oops, I'm going to pull this little part out and I'm just going to set it right there. That, unfortunately, doesn't work, to the best of my knowledge. So you have to feel it to heal it. And we don't want to do that. Well, I can't speak for anyone else but me. And I know that doing shadow work is very difficult, because we get to a certain point and we're like, oops, that's really uncomfortable. I don't think I really need to do that much trauma work, right? I mean, that's, anyone with me on that? I mean, am I alone? No, thank you. So we don't want to see the shadow. We don't want to see, I mean, no one wants to acknowledge the dirt, or the debris, I guess is a better word. But we must. And what I want to say as encouragement is that as you do it, bit by bit, the light moves in. What is it Leonard Cohen says, when the cracks are there, is so the light can come in. So we want to open those cracks and the light floods in and does that clearing. It's almost like turning on the garden hose and it just whooshes out. Yeah, it might be a little uncomfortable, but then it's clear, and then you have more light in you, and then the next time you want to do something, it's easier. I didn't say easy, but I did say easier, right? You have a momentum, and you have some power behind it, and you have the love of God and the light of God, and you have all of the people that are doing similar work, and all of that adds to the synergy of being able to heal individual and collective trauma, to heal individual and collective shadow. To reveal it, you have to reveal it first, and that's, it can be ugly. But if you don't reveal it, if you don't acknowledge it, if you aren't willing to look at it, you can't heal it. And that pertains to us personally, and it pertains to a collective shadow. So, Ernest Holmes, or the Science of Mind, I was looking on the Science of Mind archives last night, see if I could find any good quotes, and I saw this, came across my screen, open at the top. Have you ever heard us teach that? It's one of our main, a core value. And so I said, well, what does that mean exactly? Science of Mind is open at the top, always ready to receive new truth and new information about our world. And it didn't just say good stuff, new information. I thought, open at the top. I want to embrace that again at a new level. Open. And that's sometimes our symbol can be interpreted, not sometimes, is interpreted that way, that it's a V that comes down in a circle. So this truth comes down in, and then it filters into our body, into our experience. Just like in the origins of Tikkun, olam, that at one time meant cosmic repair, and it would be when a Jew would do 613, the mitzvahs, 613 commandments in the Torah is called a mitzvah. I got that right. And what that means is that they have then created or contributed to the cosmic repair on a spiritual level, and then that funnels down into healing the sins of the world, if you will. I love that. Am I the only one? Good, thank you. Good. Got a little bit more. I love interactive. I'm so used to doing groups, in a circle where people talk and stuff and interactive. So I'm always saying, are you with me? No, it ain't good. I love it. Let's get a little engaged here. Okay, so lastly, I want to talk a little bit more about light. I've already, gone into it, but this idea that we chase the light. Do you know what I mean by that? We want it, and I'm not talking about the beauty lights that we see, but the light that's unseen, the light of knowledge, the light of clarity, the light of God's love. We are, I believe, always seeking that at some point, whether it's in the form of real truth, the presence of God. I believe we seek that, and I believe we chase it. And I believe that, chase it, maybe that's not the right word, but I believe that that's part of what drives us in many cases. And I think that at the same time, we might be afraid of it because it shines the light on some things that maybe we aren't ready to look at, but need our attention, right? And so, remembering that light pierces the darkness. Darkness can't pierce the light. Light pierces the darkness. So when you're in a dark place, you bring in the light through prayer and meditation and finding that which you love and are grateful for, and lots of other ways. You bring in the light. Set that as your intention. When I'm feeling the darkness, let me also acknowledge the light so it can shine a light on the darkness, and then I'll know what to do with it. I'll know how to release it or how to forgive it. Okay? And everything I'm sharing here, I do. Not all the time, but I do. So I speak from experience and also from love of humanity and wanting us to feel that light and experience it and be the light. And so the thing is, we are the light. We are the light. It says so in Scripture. Ernest Holmes talks about it. All the spiritual teachers talk about it. And I'm reading the most interesting book on health and healing, and it's called Electric Body, Electric Health. I think I've shared that with a couple of you. And it's about the electromagnetic energy of the body, and I was talking, I think, at our council meeting. I'll probably do a class on it because it's just so interesting, and it uses different things like tuning forks and things to work in the biofield, electromagnetic energy, and it goes along with heart math and all of this really interesting stuff. And what the author of the book, I pulled a quote out of there that really stayed with me, is who you are, this is all of us, is one cell of light in the universal light body. One note in the cosmic symphony. Isn't that beautiful? And our cells emit light. Not that the human eye can necessarily see, but we are light. We are light. So we don't have to call it to come in from out here. We just have to affirm and evoke and allow it to come out. It's there. And light is the same as love, in my opinion. Love and clarity and truth and so on, which is all boils down to God and God's love. So I have a quote I'd like to close with, or kind of a prayer. First, I want to bring some light from Scripture of Matthew 5. And this is fairly common. You might have heard this, but you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. And in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify the Father in heaven. So this holiday season, let's gather the shards of light in our life to synergetically, if that's a word, amplify that light. Let's shine the light that we are. Restore the light of wholeness to the world. Remember our own light-filled wholeness that's reflected divinely in each other, and see that light in one another. Loving the differences, filling the cracks, healing the splits, and shining the light for our path and others. And I like this. Let's turn to the light and dazzle ourselves with the brilliance of one luminous light. So Ernest Holmes, in closing. When Isaiah said, "The Lord shall be thy everlasting light," he meant that there's a light within us, the light of truth, of spirit, of God, that cannot become obliterated and cannot be blown out. The candle of the Lord burns forever because its wick is sunk deep in the well springs of reality. That light, that spring, that substance to which Jesus referred when he told the woman at the well that if ever she drank from it, she would never thirst again. And so it is for us. So if you want to join me in prayer or just holding the sacred space, I just fill myself up with the love of the divine. The love that exists in this room is so powerful. The love that exists in this community is so vast. It's infinite. And so feeling that love and letting it light us up from inside. Christmas lights are us. Hanukkah lights are us. Kwanzaa, Diwali. We are the light. And so knowing that that light heals and comforts and uplifts and clarifies. And that light shines so brightly, illuminating our oneness, illuminating our healing path, illuminating our love for one another, for humanity, for our community, and for ourselves. And so allow that light to heal and comfort, to uplift and empower, and know that it's always working for our highest and best and most blessed experience. And so it is. Amen.